Hello everyone and welcome to the video tarot forecast for August. I was going to apologise profusely for the fact that I'm only able to record it today because of poor weather and summer holidays and everyone being indoors. But then I remembered that we actually have the lunar eclipse today, and where there is the lunar eclipse in Aquarius, so this feels auspicious that that we do the recording today, and sometimes things just work out exactly the way that they should. So the cards for today are always what I do with the 3-card reading. They're based on the template of the first card being the foundation. In other words, the what it is that you are bringing in to this month in terms of who you are, what it is that you bring with you materially, and really it acts as the foundation for then really essentially what you're standing on as you meet with the current weather, which is the second card. It's the cosmic weather, the inner weather, the outer weather. It's really how you're feeling, or what's impacting on you, what's impacting through you, and what's impacting on the world and others around you. Which can sometimes be incredibly useful to know, not just from a personal perspective, but also from an interpersonal perspective and just from a community perspective, so that you know that you're not the only one who might be feeling this, and perhaps to give people, well, maybe to cut them some more slack, or you have a greater insight in terms of what it is that's going on. So that's the cosmic weather is card number 2, which you then meet as you are standing on your foundation. And then the third card is the tool card. It is the tool that you are given that gives you agency in the situation. It's what you can draw upon. It's what you're able to use. Something that really is going to be able to have an impact on what it is that's going on through you and around you in a way that is meaningful. So when I draw this card, I draw it with the intention that it's not just something ineffectual like like a box of damp matches. It's something that really is that you can draw on, that you have, in your vicinity or immediate vicinity, or something inside you. So it's not a tool that you have to go out and find. It is one that you already have with you. So the 3 cards for this month, I have shuffled and I have drawn the cards. And I'm going to go in with the first card, the foundational card, which is the 6 of Stones. As you can see, I'm using a different deck this week. This is because my normal deck is being used elsewhere at the moment, and so I don't have immediate access to it. But the deck that I'm using this week is the Haindl deck by Hermann Haindl, so that's spelled H-I-N-D-L. Another German artist like Karl Rohrig, whose deck I use regularly, and which is the deck that I normally use for these. But it felt right to use the Haindl deck today. I was thinking about which one I should use, and Haindl came up immediately. So this is your foundational card, and that is the 6 of Stones. 6 of Discs or 6 of Pentacles in other decks. The 6 of Stones here suggest a really highly structured environment that leads through into, or itself is creating a portal, as you can see through here, that leads you somewhere else. It's almost as if, well, the idea of the 6s are a kind of plateau or consolidation stage before one goes in and deals with something that is existential in nature. So the 7s are about a spiritual struggle or a struggle for meaning, a struggle about existence, a struggle to find one's place in the world, choices that one needs to make. The 6s are the precursor to that, and in a way are the preparation for that. So the 6s here with the 6 of Stones, it is building up some kind of material foundation that is able to support you as you move forward. So it's a very stable number. As you can see, it's an incredibly stable card in terms of its composition. And it is almost as if that these 6 stones that you have put in place through hard work, through your commitment to something, and also it may not feel like you have much in place, but this card is reflecting that indeed you do. You have enough. What you have done is enough. it, or these 6 stones, create. It's almost as if by building them, they create a way through, which, as you can see there in the distance, is the way through or the way out of a cave. It's interesting that the light beyond is lighter and not darker. So when I look at this card, I think of the idea of birth. I think of the idea of being in a cave as being in the womb, and then of this period of growth, of consolidation, and then there is going to be this idea of going through into something else, but it is light wherever it is. But what I notice as well is that there is a narrowing before there is the opening out into something lighter, whatever that is. So the narrowing may feel like a form of constriction. It may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like you are being, things are drawing in around you from all sides. There may be a sense of pressure. The idea that something is bearing down on you, and that very much is that idea, because it's that idea of birth and giving birth to oneself. So in using or continuing the birth analogy, that narrowing really is the way of containing and being able to guide through into something else. When babies are being born and they go into the birth canal, I mean, nobody can know for sure how it feels, but it will definitely be a very different feeling from the feeling that they would have had in utero. And that idea of them being held and squeezed through through this very narrow opening in order to go somewhere else. So that's it feels like there's a bit of Saturn in here as well. If you know your astrology, that idea of limitation, of discipline, of pulling things in order to create a more measured pace, in order to have everything consolidated enough so that when you do emerge at the other side, you emerge in a way that is considered, that is prepared, that is tempered. You have been through enough, and it has taught you patience as well. So I think there's this idea simultaneously of pressure and of perhaps patience with yourself, patience with the process, patience with not knowing, and patience with others as well. And so that's the foundation. That's what you have. That's what you're bringing in with you. What you are going to be connecting with this month is the Queen of Wands, which is the Mother of Wands in the East, with the Haindl card. Haindl uses the different suits as different religions in the world, and Wands draws in the court cards from the Hindu religion. And here we have the Queen of Wands in her figure as Kali. This is a very different depiction of the, well, not entirely different, but pretty different depiction of the way that Kali is traditionally seen as, with a woman with skulls around her neck, with a scythe in one hand, a man's head severed in the other, and she is dancing on the body of, I think, I could be wrong, so I will put this, I will correct myself in the comments, but it's the figure of Vishnu, as far as I can remember. And here, though, instead, there is instead of Kali dancing on the body of Vishnu, here she is merging with the body of Vishnu. So there is this cosmic intercourse taking place, with the Kundalini snake wrapped around. I hope you can see, I'm getting a lot of light here. There we go. The Kundalini snake wrapped around Vishnu's head and around his body. And you can see that they are fused. So there is this entirely procreative, very erotically charged figure of Kali here. In a way, she is not so much the idea of the destroyer, which she is traditionally known as, but she is also simultaneously here the destroyer and the creator. or the co-creator. So it's the masculine and feminine. There is the dark mother. She is the dark mother. She is the dark goddess. The dark goddess asks us to look at what is no longer serving us in order to give that up so that we can live more fully into our truest sense. And so this procreative, highly potent environment is asking us in a way to fuse with what is most meaningful for us and what's most meaningful to us in order to bring something through that really is our essence, rather than something that we feel that we should be doing, we ought to be doing, we must do, people tell us we should do, we think we must do. I mean, you get the point. When the dark goddess comes in, what she does is she asks us to go back to the truth of who we are, back to the parts of us that we have disowned, back to the parts of us that we have forsaken. And she does that in the darkness. So there's that idea of the cave in the Six of Stones, and to be able to then reclaim those parts of ourselves that we have forsaken, that we have left behind, that we have denied, in order to then step more fully into who it is that we are, not who we say that we should be or other people think we should be, because we are under the most considerable amount of pressure from all sides, including from within, to be anything other than ourselves, to the point where we have even forgotten that this is something that we should be looking for. And Kali is nothing if not inviting us back into authenticity. The Queen of Wands is the receptive part of highly charged fire energy. She knows how to surrender to it. This is not a sign of weakness. This is her greatest strength. So the Queen of Wands is the archetypal witch. She is also very much here as the dark goddess, really a conduit for those forces that are there to bring through more of who she is and to leave what she isn't behind. So when it is that you are meeting this kind of energy, it's worth bearing in mind that this is energy that's going on in the world around you. You may notice it. It may feel chaotic. The dark feminine is nothing if not chaotic to those who seek order, seek reason, seek charts and, explanations. And she doesn't offer explanations. She simply is who she is. So it's good to notice that that is what's going on in the world around you. But it is also worth noticing perhaps more that this is what's going on not only to you, and in fact not to you, but through you. So when you get the idea of the Mother of Wands in the East, or the Queen of Wands, understand that she is not something that's just merely happening to you. You are embodying this card as an aspect of yourself. She is coming through. This resituates the reading in as much as this process is almost integral to each of us and integral to you. And there is nothing that you really need to do apart from, and I say there's nothing you need to do apart from surrender. It sounds so simple. It's the last thing most of us do. But that's really what it is. There is a wisdom moving through you that is asking you to get back to the truth. And so there, Kali is dancing her dance of life and not death. She is, things will go, but her dance here is of life. And that is something that you are also dancing in unison with her in some area of your life, whether you know it or not. This is what's going on. This is the weather outside you. It's the weather inside you. It may go to explain quite a lot of what's going on in the world. And in fact, interestingly, this just popped into my mind now. There's a book by travel writer William Dalrymple, who wrote about India, who talks about the fact that there are many of those in India who call this the age of Kali. And it is not a comfortable age to be in as much as there is the birthing in of something new. There is a redressing of imbalance. There is a reckoning of what has been consigned to the darkness. But Kali will have her way, and she is asking us then to reclaim and reclaim and reclaim and reclaim the truth. So that is what is going on right now. And as always, we have a tool. We have the tool that then gives you agency in this. And this is the 9 of Stones. Now, I actually want to put these together because you will see how beautifully this reading lines up. So you've got the 6 as your foundation. You have the Queen of Wands as what is going on now, the weather inside and outside. And then your tool is the 9. So I love the fact that the 9 also signifies birth. So that also emphasizes that. So the tool is the emphasis of birth. Oh, sorry, wrong one. The tool is the emphasis of birth. And also to understand that this is a process, and birth comes with its own ideas of what needs to happen, which are quite apart from our own ideas of what we think should happen. And so again, the thing that birth teaches us, whether it is a physical birth as mothers, or whether it is a birth in any form or shape in the material world, because stones are about material world, is that when this is happening, there is a wisdom that moves through us that is that knows what it's doing. So again, that idea of surrender to rhythms and to patterns. So I think that there is that reminder of that with the 9 in this. But I think that there is also something else. Well, there are 2 things. The first one is that you have resources built up. So the 9 is, if you see here, material gain. And what I take from this card is this idea of being able to draw on resources that you have saved in order to get through this. That's not to say that things are all going to go wrong and you need to rely on all of your savings. I don't mean that. What I mean is that you have amassed a rich resource pool in your physical life. If you're struggling to find it, then you're not looking hard enough. It is going to be anything that you interact with your 5 senses. So I am not talking about spirit guides here. I am not talking about your higher power. This is in the material world. Spirit guides, higher power, intuition, they're all fabulous things, but this card is emphasizing that you are looking in the physical world. If you need to draw from financial resources in order to facilitate this birth, then do it. It may be that you're so focused on something that's coming through that there isn't a lot of time to be amassing new wealth out in the world. You may need to rely on your savings. That's a very practical one. But the other one is really the other kinds of material wealth that you have. And that comes in the form of your home or your place that you call your home, your base, something where you can go in and rest, something that supports you, that's also there for you. And then even further, your cheerleading team. So this is, you want your cheerleading team of, of midwives to see you through this. This is less of a crisis team and more of a, you can do this, we have faith in you, to remind you that you don't have to do it all yourself, to remind you to surrender. So these are the rich resources that you can draw on that really are able to support you through a birthing process. That's the first point. The second point is not really to do with a tool, but it felt relevant to say it, because when you see the evolution of the 6 to the 9, then you see that what it is that is worth bearing in mind. I don't really want to ignore it, even though it's kind of past the scope of this reading, because this is purely the tool card normally. But when you see these 2 cards together, well, I mean, when I see these 2 cards together, I can't speak for any of you, but I see an accrual, a building up of something. So in other words, the foundation that you have laid, and then the current circumstances that are going to be, experienced are leading to a greater sense of one's own riches And that may be money, it may be financial, there's nothing wrong with that. It may be in terms of your own skills and resources. It may be in terms of your own material belongings. It may be in terms of a consolidation. And it could also be, as I said, an enriching of your people, of your team. And I talk about this, that they're not just simply there to serve you, but that it's a mutual benefit society. It is one where everyone enriches everyone else with what it is that they bring. So that's not strictly a tool that you can use now, because I'm suggesting that this is something that you're working towards in the future, but that's also something that's worth bearing in mind. In the meantime, though, what you do have, use because it is going to be a time that might feel chaotic. It might feel like things are not behaving the way that they should. It might feel that things are leaving and you don't want them to, even though actually there's a part of you that knew that they were on their way out anyway. But this is also richly fertile. It is also hugely procreative. It is a highly erotically charged environment as well. I mean, there is nothing if not eroticism in that card. But it is also a deeply spiritually erotic card as well. And to bring that down into something that then makes sense here, that eroticism is in service to your own becoming. And that becoming is not so much about trying to be more than who you are or trying to be bigger than or better than who you are now. No, that's bullshit. It is about becoming yourself. That's what it is. And that is sometimes the hardest work that we can do. First of all, to discover who it is that, well, first of all, to even know that there is something more to us than we are told or that we believe. Secondly, then, is to know what that is. And thirdly, is to grow into it. And these cards this month are suggesting that you have created an environment in which something is going to be happening, and that is you giving birth to yourself. And that will be reflected in the world around. Notice your feelings, notice your judgments about what's going on, and perhaps understand that there is more going on than may meet the eye. And when you need it, you draw from what it is that you have built up, because it is constantly now a process of drawing from what you've built up to bear down and push through, and also to surrender to forces that are moving through you. So it is about as much as surrender as well as facilitation. And then also knowing that what it is that you are getting from this is something that is far richer than you can possibly know right now. I hope that makes sense. It's a very potent reading. It's very much in the physical world for two of the cards, though this fiery queen-like energy is also archetypal in nature, but she is moving through you. So there is also fire, but it's grounding as well. So you've got the stones that are able to ground this into your world and able to temper this. If you have any questions, if you want to get in touch, then please do. You can either send me a message through my website or you can comment underneath. But in the meantime, I will send this out with much love and I will speak to you next month. Take good care.